got some toys in here.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today it's the Man-Child. Alright, so today up for review, we're going to go over the Masters Universe Origins Wave 14 Snake Man Infiltrator figure. So this is the third figure now I'm reviewing. It's part of the 4 figures in Wave 14. So you can see I already went over Squeeze and Spikor. 2 awesome figures. So, you know, these are going back to my childhood, or a lot of us, and it's just exciting to finally see these added to the Origins. We're getting closer to finish out the end of the Origins line. Mattel did say at San Diego Comic-Con that they plan on finishing all the vintage-inspired figures, and maybe some other vehicles, maybe the Fright Zone will come, depends how many people support this line. But once again, it's all going to Mattel Creations as far as the figures, you know, are going. Now, I bring it up because I got a lot of comments on the Squeeze and Spikor video, especially a lot of you guys from overseas. Yeah, that's kind of stinks because now you're going to pay high prices to get the stuff. And that's even if they're going to have enough in stock when that goes down, you know. The newer figures that come out that will go on Mattel Creations to end the line, if they do go that far, are going to be highly tooled in some of the most wanted figures, right? Too Bad, Module Lock, Blast Attack. Yeah, I mean, they're going to go quick. But you never know, you know. Sometimes Big Bad Toy Store gets a lot of this stuff in. Mattel Creations will say one thing and it shows up on other sites. So there might be hope, you know. So we'll just see what happens into next year. Hopefully that's the route and go down all you guys and get these figures. Anyway, it's interesting to see this guy and let's take a look at him. And spinning the package around, taking a quick look at that really awesome Origins art. So we just got a scene here going with the, it's like the Royal Palace in the background. Got our Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms, or I call them the 2000X inspired Man-at-Arms. And then, of course, our Infiltrator Snake Men figures, or characters here. And then dropping down to the left-hand side shows the action features or what weapons he has available. Not much. Just push the snake staff in hand. They say snake staff, but it's actually the axe again that the Palace Guards came with, but it looks like shinier. He does also come with the snake staff. They don't show it. And here's a quick look at the cross-sell of all 4 figures as part of the Wave 14 series, and of course the Rise of Snake Man bio on the back. And before we move on with the figure, of course, the Snake Infiltrator comes with the same comic as all the figures in Wave 14 series. I've showed this in my other 2 videos, but if you're not familiar, right here's the cover. You can just pause and take a look at everything, try to read it. A lot going on. Once again, just promotes all the current figures or stuff that's already out or maybe coming out. It's going to as part of the Origins line. Take a look, check all that out. Okay, so real quick, I'm just making a video update with my Origins Squeeze, going back to the requests in the comments. So if you haven't seen my Squeeze review, you can go check it out if you want. And if you did, well, obviously the question was, with all the part swapping I've done or known for, does Squeeze's larger hands work on the Whiplash body? So if you guys haven't seen this in my Squeeze review, I wanted to see if I had any compatible figures that matches his newer color. The closest one I found was Whiplash. Man-at-Arms is green, but it's too green. Doesn't work under my light. So if you don't want these wacky arms, you only want to put one on one side or one on the other, just use pair of hands. Whiplash's was perfect with the creature hands. And yeah, the color's pretty close. But I did originally film the large hand, so that's the question. And I had a problem in editing, and I cut that part out, and I didn't think it was important, you know, because mixing and matching parts, yeah, it could be a whole other video. But to answer all you guys' questions in the comments, here we go. I'm filming it and adding this review, and the hands work, and they look pretty cool. And they spin, they do go in and out about that far. And once again, with these arms and the head, or you put the Whiplash head on, it makes a whole other figure. And yeah, it's pretty neat. If you want to set up something like that, it does work. Now here's a complete look with the Snake Man Infiltrator figure out of package. Yeah, just basically a Man-at-Arms, Palace, Guard, 2-pack set of figures, or figure with their armor on. And like those figures, basically had where Man-at-Arms would have just armor on one side. You get both, you know, both armor pieces and the lower leg pieces. And now we get the helmet with the snake face hidden underneath. The body is in a darker green color. That's pretty neat, because I always like that with the vintage Man-at-Arms, where the Origins came out very bright. It's unique, but that's a cool color if you want to go back old school and use this for a custom. He does come, like I said, yeah, the typical axe. And there's this, we'll get into the weapons soon, the snake staff and silver, but otherwise it's really all you're getting. And bringing in a Snake Infiltrator figure for a closer look. Yeah, cool head. You know, it's just a vintage-inspired Man-at-Arms helmet that came with the Palace Guards 2-pack. I'll bring him in compared, of course, in a while. But yeah, same helmet. Spin around, you can see that, you know, the design on the back. It's highlight, so it has some yellow highlights painted. There's mechanics or circuitry. As far as the articulation, right, left to right, go down about that far and back. I like the way the eyes are painted, that dark red color. Right, we got some black pupils going on. Of course, the green face to represent he's a snake man or some type of reptilian character figure. What's neat though with this face guard, so it is part of this, or looks like it's part of the helmet sculpt. But I didn't realize. I thought it was just all sculpted on. Look, you could pull it down, bend it, and you can actually expose the face to see the you get into the whole snake man face, and then just push it right back up. That's how it would articulate, so to speak. Doesn't technically articulate, but it's cool how it works. I didn't expect that. So before I go down into the body parts, articulation, whatnot, I'm sure many people are familiar with it. We'll go over it real quick. I just wanted to make a quick comparison early on with our Palace guard from the 2-pack. So yeah, that's basically the difference. I'm bringing it in just obviously to show you the difference in the suit, green suit. So his wrist bracers are blue. His is just green to match the body skin suit thing. You can see the difference in the armor. It's this has a different shade to it, where this is more orange. It's a flatter, yeah, I don't want to say gold, but just a flatter orange color on my light. The eagle isn't painted, it's just flat, where this one is detailed a little bit. Helmets are exactly the same, but different colors. Now, this one too, I forgot that the faceplate pulled down. I never tried it on this figure. I just thought it was part of the sculpt. I don't remember. Yeah, but that pulls down. You just get a man-at-arms. It's the same sculpt as the man-at-arms head you got, basically. Yeah, the belts. You know, you can see all the differences. They both come with the same armor pieces on the arms and legs. And that's, there's the back. Yeah, it's pretty much all the same, aside the color differences and helmets. So back to the Infiltrator. So we already just showed the comparison for now and the armor parts. But as far as the articulation, we did the head and the arms. If you guys aren't familiar, so I'm going to leave the armor on for this. So it can go up, down, forward, back. Of course, it gets hindered by the shoulder armor. It gets stuck on the chest armored. The elbow's already bent, but you can bend the elbow already up. Both arms are exactly the same. Now he comes with 2 semi-closed weapon gripping hands, which can spin and go in and out in a hinge joint. Moving down, so we already went over the armor, but if you're not familiar, yeah, it's the same armor as that the guard I just showed. It's the front and back. All right, I already showed that. And you know, you can spin at the waist. You can pop apart at the waist. The head can pop off, of course. I mean, that's the ball peg there. And putting the head back on, we already did the waist. Just going to go over the legs real quick. So I didn't go all the way out. Right, go forward, back, bend at the knee, spin at the knee, and then, of course, yeah, it's just man-at-arm or He-Man boots that can spin, even under the guard, and, you know, the foot can go up and down, rock side to side. And as far as these armor pieces, I'll show one on camera for not, if you're not familiar. So, of course, I can slide right off. You can slide this arm piece down. You don't have to break any of these buckles. You can see how they come out. Sometimes they're a little annoying to work with, but that's just how you would expose the arm for you guys that aren't familiar, wondering how easy they come off. And then the back arm is going to come off the same way as a man-at-arms. You'll pop it here and break these 2 straps. And here's a little closer look at that chest armored. So, yeah, we just know how soft it is. Again, eagle isn't painted, and just get an overall look of it. And then moving back to the armored on the lower legs, they're just easier to kind of pop those little buckles like that and pull them right off. And now here's a quick look with all the pieces off that body, if you guys, again, aren't familiar with it. Now here's a quick look with obviously all the armor pieces off this body and buck. It's, typical He-Man, nothing new, He-Man buck. But again, I like that dark color going back to the vintage inspired man-at-arms. So moving on to the Infiltrator's accessories, yeah, you just get that typical axe staff thing that the Palace guards came with, and it's just a little shinier silver, so of course you get that. And then you get another magical snake staff like a lot of the snake men come with, but now it's all in a shiny silver color. So moving on to little comparisons and parts mixing and matching. That's, I don't know, I guess fun of what we can sort of do with this figure. And of course you can make for a good army builder too. So I brought in our first release man-at-arms. I do have the vintage inspired head from the Palace Guard 2-packs on it, 2-pack. But I did paint my eyes. I'm going to bring that, give him a little white in his eyes the best I can. I think it brings, it makes him look a little more realistic instead of those black doll eyes. I don't know why I didn't do that with man-at-arms, being that some of the other origins that came forward, they gave that extra detail. Anyway, what I wanted to do now is, being that this has a darker green color, going back to the vintage figure, like I said, I'm going to switch this man-at-arms parts and head on this body, and we'll take a look at that. All right, and there's our Infiltrator body all set up with the Origins man-at-arms armor, the head, and of course his club. Now that feels a little better to me as far as the vintage-inspired old-school figure I grew up with, just because of the tone of the skin, the bodysuit. And now here's a look with that Filmation-inspired head that the Origins first release Man-at-Arms figure first came with the mustache. Take a look at that on that body. Yeah, it looks great. And I think this one too. Try to put a little white in the eyes. Had a hard time doing it, but it just brings the face life a little more, I think. And then for one more man-at-arms setup with this dark colored body, once again going back to the vintage, so I just put the Snake Infiltrators, all the armor pieces back on as far as the legs and arms. I kept man-at-arms armored on. Of course, the club in hand is, you know, the regular head without the mustache. They do match very close to this armor in my light, but this seems a little, they have some type of sheen, like a goldish sheen on it, to where the man-at-arms is a little more orange, not by much, so it does work. And then, of course, if I throw this on with the head and the whole deal, then we just got basically a Palace Guard again, or man-at-arms with that armor. But you want to take a look at that? It looks pretty cool. So now we have a man-at-arms with armor on both sides instead of just the one side. Okay, so I set the Snake Infiltrator all back up, obviously, with all the accessories and parts on the head, and I just threw the two weapons in hand, Snake Staff and the axe. You want to take a look at that. So for another comparison, or I just wanted to bring an example of the Classics, or what the Classics did with their Palace Guards and so-called Snake Infiltrator Trooper, you want to call it that. Before we move on, I'm going to try a couple of ideas with that Trooper. But anyway, yeah, this was their setup. It was a 2-pack, awesome detail. The heads, so they had, I think this was the face sculpt of the brand manager, Scott Toy Guru, or Spectral Creative Channel. I like his channel a lot. Of course, like I say, 10 years or so, brand manager, so he did get his own face on one of the troopers. I think that was his. Of course, they did a African-American face underneath. I don't know if that was reminiscent of anybody who worked for Mattel or whoever, but it has a face plate on. These do come off, obviously. You can peel this back. And this one, too, comes with the spare face plate in the bottom. Now, I bring these in not only for the overall look and different designs and the armor, the weapons. Oh, the chest plates popped out, kind of like the Battle Armored He-Man Skeletor. But they gave you 2 additional heads, and that's how they basically converted these. So you got a snake face, which I believe you can also use the face guard over that or leave it exposed. And then this was, I want to say, one of the warriors of the Chief Cornivus figure, or his faction of warriors. So you did get one of those. I'm going to take this snake head out, though, being I have these out of card, and put on the Origins and see what that looks like. All right, and here's a quick look at that classic snake head on that Infiltrator body warrior. That looks awesome, and it fit pretty good. I had to push it down when it articulates. Boy, that's a cool head sculpt. That's, yeah, I mean, here's a little comparison, obviously, what they did, just the face hidden under the helmet, which is cool. I'm glad the faceplate pulls down, but yeah, I like how that one looks. And now here's a quick look with the classics head on, but of course that faceplate. So when you compare it with the Origins one, it's not too bad. Aside, there's more detail in the scales and the eye, but this one's well detailed. It's fun for this body. So moving on to some more Origins customs. You know, the other wacky things we can do, being we know as collectors that this is just basically a Man-at-Arms body or a Palace Guard's body, but we're going to call him the Snake Infiltrator Warrior in disguise under that body. Yeah, we could put Squeeze's head on, right? So if he was unhelmeted, what would he look like? Or what if Squeeze wore this equipment and whatnot? Articulate looks pretty cool. So you could do something like that. Now here's a look with the Infiltrator body setup, and of course Squeeze's head and arms. So you could do something like that. Looks pretty cool. And now here's a look with the Snake Horde Trooper head on that Palace Guard's Infiltrator body. And of course I put the head on the Horde Trooper Snake body, being that they're both different Snake Troopers. And this head looks pretty cool on it. I thought it wouldn't because of how big the neck is, but yeah, it works out and articulates okay. Goes up and down, spins left to right. And then of course this head too, even though it's a blue helmet, you know, it's MOTU, can work. Well, now we got blue, red, gold, black, but it works okay. It only goes down about that far, just like this head because of the collar, but it works. It's different. And now here's a look with the Cobra Khan head on this Infiltrator body. So once again, color is pretty cool, works out. Do something like that. And I want to try the Infiltrator head with the face guard down on the Cobra Khan body because it's, yeah, the face is green. Check something like that out. It looks okay, works. Color's off, and the helmet looks really close to the body just because how wide Cobra Khan's body is. The head just works out better with Cobra Khan's, obviously, is the main design. But want to take a look at that. And here's a look at Snakeface's head on the Infiltrator body, right? Because who says, even though it's gray skin and just different color, I mean, it is, they are wearing body armor and bodysuit, so who knows what's underneath that body or what body they hijack. So we check that out. Works okay. Now here's a look at Rattler's head with the extended neck coming out. He's supposed to be in disguise, but he got angry and couldn't help himself. Now Tongue Lasher's head on that body. That looks really out of place, the colors, but, you know, again, just having fun with some Snake Men heads on this Infiltrator body. And here's a look at Serpent King Hiss coming out of that body with 2 snake arms and head, right? Something like that. Without his traditional King Hiss armored. Or just leave the same setup and put the King Hiss armor over that body. Actually, I'm sorry, I put the King Hiss's buck onto the lower legs because the head just works better with this neck collar at the arm. Otherwise, it's pretty sloppy on the Infiltrator figure, and then just left the arms on. Okay, so we're back to square one once again with the Infiltrator is set up as he comes in package. Of course, I left the faceplate down because it makes him stand out more, but now he's not in disguise. And of course, here's the other two figures, part of Wave 14 series I already reviewed, so you can see all three of them together. It's one of those things that, basically, yeah, he's just a repaint with a head, as I said, and get a different the snake stamp in silver. But he has a lot of potential, so you can turn him into a vintage-inspired man-at-arms because of that color of that suit like I showed. And you can double the armor. You can make him another Palace Guard if you have those extra heads from the Palace Guard 2-pack. It could just be your Snake Infiltrator Trooper. You could put different Snake Men heads on that body, going back to the Snake Men theme of hijacking a Royal Guard body. And of course, when they don't have the helmet on or what their head looks like, that's what's standing out. So you can have a lot of fun with them. It's different, and you do get some unique card art. And to be fair, the Classics did them. It's not just some figure Mattel threw in a line, go, yeah, here's a repaint with a head, buy it. Once again, it's part of the MOTU lore. So I appreciate all you guys watching. Until next time, take care.